You see this podium right here? Yes. This podium. One day during the height of the AIDS epidemic, I lost a partner. And I had to go by a church because I just needed somebody to pray with. And I went over to a little church called St. Beulah's Church of God in Christ. And the saints there didn't ask any questions. They just took me in and they prayed with me. And this is the podium they gave me when I came over to BCA at the time. They said, you know, you're going to need to speak every now and then. Just take it with you. And that's the kind of community I come from. And that's the kind of community San Francisco was. And that's the kind of community we've got to make San Francisco again. Good morning, and thank you, Chanel, for that warm welcome. I appreciate your kind words, and I want you to know my prayer is for your continued success. This is like a family reunion to me. You see familiar faces, and you meet cousins who you've never met before. You look at the faces in the crowd, and you realize there are some people that are missing. And they've gone on to become ancestors. And I want their memories to be a blessing. How many in this room were born after 1986? Now, I want you to know, I know Miss Billy, and I know she wasn't born after that. Okay, if you were born after 1986, I just want to know that. That was the year that the Black Coalition was founded. And if you were born after that, this talk is really for you. If you were born before that, this is about remembering and reflecting. So that's all that it is. Many of you know I wear many hats. They talked about that. And I am an ordained minister, and I ask that you do this with me. Let's just pause for a second. And in the tradition of my ancestors, whenever they would get to the pulpit and speak, my uncles and aunts would stand flat-footed. And they would say, let the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O God, my strength and my redeemer. Oh. In her book, The Bluest Eye, the late Toni Morrison highlighted a distinction among Black people about what it means to be put out versus what it means to be put outdoors. Toni Morrison distinguishes between being put out and being put outdoors to highlight the difference between temporary inconveniences and permanent displacement. To be put out suggests an abrupt removal, usually out of intense emotion like anger or hurt, and most often implies a temporary status. To be put outdoors is to permanently slam the door behind and don't let the doorknob hit you where the sun don't shine. There's a difference between being kicked out of the bedroom and sleeping on the sofa or in a hotel room versus being put out of the house when the locks are changed and a pit bull is put at the front gate. You guys hear the difference? You know, there's the being put out, then there's the being put outdoors. I want you to feel me on this. During the height of the AIDS epidemic, hear me now, people were sick and dying, and at the same time, many, but not all, were put outdoors. Some families, not all, put them outdoors. Some churches, not all, put them outdoors. The government put them outdoors. This is of your own making, some would say. Die where you will. To be clear, that's what it means to be put outdoors. BCA was founded and formed at a time when people were being put outdoors. But thanks be to God, while white gay men in San Francisco were organizing and their girl pals were supporting them, there was a small group of San Francisco Black men and women, gay and straight, old and young, who stood up, opened their arms to the afflicted, and said, yes, you are not alone. These Black men and women founded the Black Coalition on AIDS and created Rafiki House for those who were sick and dying. Many of the founders have become ancestors. I don't know the names of everyone because I wasn't here. I was in the city. I was a journalist at the time, and I couldn't go to the meetings they held. In fact, I knew everybody in the room, but they said you really shouldn't be here, and they were right. But these folks, they got together and they met and they strategized and they talked about what needed to happen. And they came up with this place called the Black Coalition on AIDS. Some were more central than others, but they all stood up and said, this isn't right. We can't let our people die like this. They offered hope in the face of despair. The preacher in me asked that we remember and bless them in this moment, and I'm going to call out their names. Naomi Gray, Norm Nickens, John Hayes, Doris Ward, Brandy Moore. And I want to give a special shout out to someone who is still living, and that's to Jimmy Loyce. Jimmy, and I know he's in the city, he's going to come by sometime today, but I want to thank him for standing up then and for still standing up now. In fact, let's give Jimmy a round of applause. There were other folks in the mix that may not have been as central, but I want to lift them up: Willie B. Kennedy, Pat Norman, Abner Bowles, and others. The founders offered hope in the face of despair. There's an adage that I was reminded of this week that I want you to hold on to today and let it well up in your soul. And the adage goes like this: hope has two daughters. Their names are anger and courage. Anger at the way things are, and courage to see that they do not remain as they are. Hope has two daughters, anger and courage. I nicknamed them Pissed Off and Determined. And together, they are powerful. And we need to have those angels in us. There's something about righteous anger, divine discontent. We need to understand that, but we need to couple that with courage to do something about it. Like most organizations, especially Black community-based organizations, there are ups and downs. There is camaraderie, and sometimes there can be messiness. Sometimes there can be hurt, and sometimes there can be joy. People quit, people sue, people run programs with little or no money. All of that happens. The test is when the good outweighs the bad. And the measure is whether the agency is still standing and serving the community. BCA Rafiki is still standing and serving this community. Rafiki has had a presence in Black San Francisco since it was founded. The first headquarters was at 1041 Divisadero near Turk Street. They moved from there to 489 Clementina Street in the Folsom area, then to 2800 3rd Street in Potrero Hill, and finally 601 Cesar Chavez, 94124. The first Rafiki house was in the Bayview. The current Rafiki house is in the Western Addition. There have been more than 7 executive directors, including me, and I served twice. There have been dozens of outstanding community board members. Am I right, Carolyn? Many outstanding community board members and hundreds of staff over the years. Many bright, young, talented people that have moved on to do wonderful things. I'm in touch with a few of them. One is in LA, got his doctorate and he's teaching. One young man that was volunteering here, he's now a doctor, and I believe is in the Dominican Republic. You know, but folks are moving and doing wonderful things because they came through and got some love from this community here. For those who came through BCA's doors, I would like to think that we have all lived long enough to forgive each other's transgressions and shortcomings. None of us are perfect, including me. And we need to make sure that as we're moving through, that we're able to forgive, to let go. The founders didn't always agree on things, but they learned to work together, to let it go. I remember in our history, one of the big issues that we had to deal with, and it divided the community, was around needle exchange. Some folks agreed and others didn't. One side won out, but they all managed to work together. We've got to keep doing that kind of thing. We're not going to agree on everything, but we've got to find a way to work together. So we stand here because a group of folks found out that Hope had 2 daughters, anger and courage. Anger at the way things were, and courage to change and create something new. In 2015, the Black Coalition on AIDS changed its name to the Rafiki Coalition for Health and Wellness. The shift did not come without fraught and anxiety. On the one hand, Black gay men who were living longer with HIV/AIDS disease worried that if we changed the name, they would lose the organization and programming support. And that's real, the conversation that was had. On the other hand, brothers and sisters disproportionately impacted by strokes, heart disease, and other ailments had little or no place to go to get support in the community, and they needed to find a place of refuge and hope. Together, we decided that we had to share the resources. We couldn't hold a pot of money for one disease and not share that with other folks that needed as well to deal with their diseases. So we shared the resources. We pitched a bigger tent, and church ladies, drag queens, sports jocks, and children found a safe place to gather together with less judgment. Notice I didn't say no judgment, but with less judgment, so that we could have a place for everyone. At another time, not today, remind me to tell you the story of how 2 drag queens would come and meet with me and pray with me early in the morning before folks would come in, so that my heart would be open to services that I didn't understand. Do you hear me? We've got to sit with each other. This is a journey. We all are not in the same place, but we've got to sit with each other with an open heart and listen and learn and be responsive to each other. The legacy of Rafiki is about creating and building places and networks of hope in our community. While at our 3rd Street location, we condensed our values and literally hung the values on banners from the ceiling for all to see. I don't know how many people went to that 3rd Street location. I was there. Yes, you were. But if you looked up at the ceiling, there were banners that were hanging on the wall. You know, the banners talked about love. The banners talked about freedom and responsibility, because it's both and. And we wrapped ourselves in kente cloth, and we helped and healed each other. I believe the legacy of Rafiki is about building hope in the face of despair. Everybody is not going to agree with everybody on everything, but we must be a place of hope. We must be a place of hope. And in these challenging times, with books banned in an effort to erase Black history, where DEI is considered a derogatory acronym, where overt racism has taken off its sheets, hope still needs to reign. Everybody knows who's responsible for this chaos and this mess that we're in, but I'm not going to name names today. I will do that on my own time. This is Rafiki's time. And I don't want to be a hindrance to anybody's funding. I want you to hear me, because these are challenging times for our folks and for nonprofits like Rafiki. But I want to remind folks that in the ebb and flow of politics, put it this way, every generation has got to deal with the politics of their time. In the 80s, we had to deal with the politics of our time. We had a governor who oppressed the Black Panther Party. We had a governor who persecuted Angela Davis. We had someone become a president who was forced after years to utter the word AIDS. I'm here to tell you that the same spirit that was in the Pharaoh then is in the Pharaoh now. I believe the secret to community success is twofold. It is about staying close to the people, listening and addressing to their evolving needs. It's also about organizational competence and heart. We must wrap those two gifts together with a bow made of love. And let's not underestimate the power of love. I like the way Dr. King talks about it. Hear me clearly. He put it like this. One of the greatest problems in history, he says, is that the concepts of love and power are usually contrasted as polar opposites. Love is identified with the resignation of power, and power with the denial of love. But what is needed is a realization that power without love is reckless and abusive, and love without power is sentimental and weak. Power at its best is love implementing the demands of justice, and justice at its best is power correcting everything that stands in the way of love. We need to correct anything that gets in the way of us loving each other. If it gets in the way of love, love for ourselves, love for community, and love to the divine, whatever we call it, we need to get it out of the way. That's real power. With all that said, just remember, we won't always agree. We won't always agree, but we've got to listen to the whole community, the poor and the middle class. We can't separate ourselves because somebody's got a little more and somebody's got less. There's no time for that. We've got to have the best interests of the community at heart. As an institution, I ask that we keep faith with the people. Chanel, keep faith with the people. And as a community, I ask that we keep faith with the good. Some people call it God, but the good, we've got to keep faith with the good. To be clear, good can be found in many of our churches, but not everyone goes to church, and some aren't going to church for good reason, and I understand that. But I'm a firm believer that hope can be found at the altar. I also believe that we can't limit hope to the church house. We must discover pockets of hope in our neighborhoods and build institutions of hope throughout our community. In the face of despair, let us build a citadel of hope. And let Rafiki always be one of the fortresses of hope in our community. And let us remember, as our founders did, that hope has two sisters, anger and courage. Anger at the way things were, and courage to change and create something new. God bless you.